Thanks, Teresa. Great to be back on one of the pulses. As you know, always enjoy participating. Without further ado, let me go ahead and just bring up some slides and share some of the recent results of what we're doing from the GCP2 project, Global Consciousness Project 2.0. But first, just as a reminder, the Global Consciousness Project 2.0 is really under the larger umbrella of the Global Coherence Initiative, or GCI. And just a very quick reminder, the kind of our leading, I'll call them hypotheses of GCI is, first of all, this isn't a hypothesis. This is definitely scientific fact here, but we all live in a common energetic or vibrational field, the magnetic fields of the earth. And we're all contributing, from my perspective, our own positive and negative vibrations to the field based on our thoughts, but especially our feelings and the quality of our interactions, whether we're feeling frustrated or compassionate or caring. Um, as we often say here at GCI, what we feed the field counts. It matters, and as we're showing, it matters in measurable ways. And basically, especially when we come together, because there's a collective amplification effect that happens. But when we come together with large numbers of people, the larger the better, in creating heart-centered or coherent states, coherently focused love and compassion, that generates a more coherent field environment that can benefit others and help offset the current planetary wave of fear and insecurity and incoherence. So we're really pulsing the field with more coherent energy, more love and compassion, especially. That's really the main purpose and why GCI exists. And our latest tool in the toolbox is the Global Consciousness Project, or GCP. Sorry about that. So our latest tool in the toolbox is the Global Consciousness Project 2.0 for measuring how what we feed the field matters and how we can measure that. And another tool in our toolbox, of course, is the Global Coherence app, because this allows us to really participate in a way that, well, in two ways. First of all, you can use the app to measure your personal coherence and practice really getting into that deeper coherent state. So when we do participate in the larger events, we're really adding our coherently focused heart energy. And the unique thing about this app is it allows us to map and see where everybody is globally, but also measure the collective coherence and how much, as we call them, coherence points based on our score, our collective scores we're feeding the field. So it's a neat tool to be able to start making scientifically correlations between the meditations and the events that we participate in and how it might affect in a measurable way the global field environment. So GCP2 is a large-scale experiment to study how and measure how human consciousness, and especially our attention to paying attention to something and our emotions, correlate with, or I would go one step farther, say drive changes in the field of global consciousness is how we like to think of it here on the research side, and how it interacts in a measurable way with the physical world. And to do that, a lot of you are probably familiar with GCP1, but the way that is done is with a global network of what are called random number generators. And the way to think about a random number generator is as an electronic coin flipper. So we know if we flip a coin, say 100 times or 1,000 times, if you're really motivated, on average, you're going to get 50 tails and 50 heads. But when you're flipping the coin, you might get 8 heads in a row sometimes, or 3, or longer sequences of heads or tails, even though on average, it's going to average out 50-50. So what a random number generator is it does that basically, sorry about that, really fast. Only instead of heads or tails, it's ones or zeros. And so think of GCP2 and GCP1, we lovingly call it now, as a globally distributed scientific instrument that's basically flipping coins, creating these numbers, ones or zeros. And what we call network coherence, that's the main measurement of the network of these devices, is when they start flipping globally now, all these thousands of devices, ones or zeros at the same time in a correlated way, above and beyond what you would expect through just random behavior. And that's a lot of math goes into behind that to sort all that out. Now, from GCP1, that's my favorite thing that Dr. Roger Nielsen did, was when he looked at many hundreds of events that had been analyzed over the years, the 25 years of GCP1's history, the events that evoke love and compassion. This could be global Earth Day, large-scale meditations that are really focused on adding, peace or love and compassion into, the focus of the meditation and into the field, have a significantly greater impact on moving the dial, creating more coherence, that is, in the network, than events that are, say, medium or low. And for medium events, because we know that emotion is what counts for affecting the network coherence, these were events like Super Bowls or World Cups, large sporting events, these types of things. And then other types of things in that category where there's a lot of emotion, but not necessarily a lot of love and compassion. And then, of course, the low category would be things like terrorist attacks and large earthquakes and shootings, these types of things. So we see they all affect the network significantly, but those in high love and compassion have a significantly greater impact on, I'd like to say, adding coherence to the global consciousness field. GCP2 is a completely new and re-envisioned version of GCP, of the original GCP project, with new devices that have been designed specifically for it, like I showed you in the slide before was a picture of them, in a much, much larger scale network. I won't go into a lot of the details here. We can maybe do that in another time, because it's pretty cool what's happening here. Now, this is some measurements we did with a global coherence pulse back in 2001, and this is actually from GCP1. And we see the first pulse we did, and then the continuation, a composite of events over a number of events, are showing that a significant effect is happening. Now, this is really important. Well, I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Now, I want to show you some more recent results here. Okay, so this is the GCP2 now, the new network, because we're up and running now and have been for a few months. And this is the data from the beginning of the start of the conflict in the Middle East, the Israeli-Gaza attack, when the Hamas attack Israel began. So we see a significant effect here. And the way to understand these graphs, the blue line, that kind of parabolic, is a line of statistical significance. So if the red line crosses it, it means there's more coherence in the network than would be expected by random chance. Typically, the red line is just kind of up and down around zero, like you see on the right side here in the control period. So we see clearly that the coherence of the network is cohering or correlated beyond its expected behavior. Now, we did a series of experiments with a community called the One Field. This is the folks who produced and made the movie called the One Field, and with their community, where we basically did 7 monthly meditations, very much like what's happening with the Global Coherence Pulse. These happen to be on the 21st of each month, and the first 6 we combined the effects on the GCP2 network for those first 6 meditations. And that's what you're seeing here. So the graph looks a little different because we're presenting it in a different way. But first, the gray line up here on top, the kind of shaded gray, this is control. Like if you look at periods in between meditations, what you would see. So just what you would expect, just up and down around the 0 line. But the red line then is the combined results of 6 of the 7 meditations, what we saw in the network. And this particular series of experiments, the community was using the Global Coherence app, so they were getting more and more practice over the sessions. So we were measuring the coherence, and all of the meditations had the focus of adding love and compassion to the planetary field to help increase or raise the baseline consciousness of Earth, basically of humanity. So we always had that focus, even though the meditations might be worded a little bit differently, each one, but that was always the constant focus, as was really the meditations of guiding people into a heart coherent state. And many of the participants were using the Global Coherence app. There's another slide I could show you all the coherence points, but I didn't include that for time today. On the 7th one, we announced the results of the first 6, and we also looked at independently of what happened on the last one. And the last of the experiments on the December 21st of 23 was the largest. There was an in-person group in Jerusalem, a big auditorium. We had the online community. In fact, Zoom was maxed out at over 1,000 people, and people were also streaming the meditation on, I think, YouTube and I think Facebook Live were the 2 streaming platforms. So we know that there were around 2,000 people participating in this. And we had quite a few on the Global Coherence app, well over, I think, 375, something like that, consistently on the app, at a pretty high coherence score, actually, too. And it's just phenomenal. This is what I wish they all looked like. Of course, we're not always going to see graphs that look like this. So the red line, of course, is the network coherence in GCP2, and it's kind of hovering around 0. But right as the meditation began, we see an upward trend in the data, clearly going up out of the envelope over the time of the event. So this is really a phenomenal result.
That's amazing.
Isn't that, Teresa?
That's really amazing, just to be able to see that and know that when we're like doing things like the pulse, or we're together and we're like really intending it, that it's actually measurable results are showing up and telling us that it actually is creating an impact.
Yeah, now what I was going to say earlier, and I wanted to save it for more here, is one of in GCP1, this was just this network of devices, and Dr. Nelson didn't really even want people to know about them, really, just kind of passively measuring. And what he was able to clearly show is that the more people who are engaged, usually through media events, like the news and that type of thing, that you would see the results. So there was a correlation between large numbers of people, and we're talking usually in GCP1, hundreds of thousands or millions, the 9/11 attacks, things like this. But in GCP2, we've introduced a new hypothesis that these last results I've been showing you really speak to. And that is that it's not necessarily about the number of people. It's really how coherent and aligned are they? Are we energetically together and connected to really see that amplification effect? So in this event we're seeing right here on the screen, this is 2,000 people. This is really quite small when you think about it, in terms of what GCP1 showed, who were highly focused. They were heart coherent with a specific shared intention. So we're now seeing through the pulse data and these types of events that it really can be a much smaller group when we get together in the heart and a heart coherent with a shared intention. We can have major effects on the consciousness field of the Earth. In fact, Teresa, I'm hoping this is something we can do this year in the pulse, as we really find some of the pulses. We really want to do this repeated experiment where we really have a shared intention and focus, and really get people using the app to really get coherent and allow us to start building those correlations between the coherence of the community, the people, and the effect size that we see on the network. So anyway, I'm hoping we can organize that this coming year. It'd be an awesome thing.
Me too. I think it's so important that, we're showing that small islands of coherence really have an impact on the system. And that's what we're building and have been over the years with the Global Coherence Pulse. And let's together, all of us guys on the calls, and bring more and more people every month. And let's really start to see and track our impact that we have.
Indeed. So I look forward to it, and I'm looking forward to another year of pulsing the planet every month. The last one I showed is just for people who want to learn more about the GCP2 project, and go to the website. It's GCP2, the letter number 2, .net.
One last question, Rolin, is that I really want to encourage our Global Coherence Pulse family to use the app. And you guys have updated it now. We have the camera sensor. We don't need to have a regular sensor. And like say some things to us about using the app and how that can really help the science, but also help ourselves.
Well, it's God, I can answer that in so many ways, but let me start by saying there are, I think, now over 500 independent research studies that people have done when we learn how to get coherent.
Mm.
So there's a lot of personal benefits by learning how to shift our own physiology into coherence. It's an optimal state, right? I mean, it just is. Whether we're trying to recover from a health challenge or just be less stress in our lives, being able to kind of flow through the challenges with more grace, more ease, and from that more centered, coherent perspective. So there's a lot of just personal benefits. And the app, whether it's the Global Coherence app or one of the other HeartMath apps, kind of keeps, at least I still use it. It keeps me honest, right? Because you can think you're coherent and, well, maybe not physiologically. But the Global Coherence app, as I mentioned earlier, it lets us look at the collective coherence of the community. What are we doing together? And so we're actually able to track the coherence points we're adding to the field as a community. And that's huge.
Yeah.
And as the results I just showed, there really is an amplification effect.
Yeah.
And when we get coherence directly drives that. And we also see that from some of the other work we're doing, Teresa, on synchronization. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We're getting ready to publish a new paper now on where we looked at the heart rhythm synchronization amongst groups in 5 countries over a 2-week period. And so coherence is a factor. When we're able to be more individually coherent, we already published work showing that helps increase our synchronization, literally, with the rhythms of the earth, the magnetic fields of the earth, but also with others. So getting in sync is a good thing, and coherence is one of the 2 primary drivers, I could say, or factors to whether we're in sync or not.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, for those of you who want to learn more about doing the app, we have one of our core team members on the Global Coherence team, Annette, who does something on the full moon every month. And she's teaching people about opening the app and using it and doing a meditation and registering it. So I'll put a link in the chat so you guys can join that. And it really helps to have somebody kind of help you figure out how to use the app and then start to do it more often.
And it's just fun, right? Now, look, I hear a lot of people say, I don't need an app to meditate. Well, and that's true. You don't. But you're also, by using it, because I'm with you, I want to encourage people to use it. Your little dot shows up on the map. We get to see where you are. And I can't tell you how many people love the map. I've heard from people to see who's there with me now doing this. And some people will actually send some love or heart to the dots on the map, knowing that they're really points of light.
Yeah.
I mean, they are literally, but there's someone there adding light, adding love to the field.
Yeah.
So it helps, for some people, really bring that sense of community.
Well, I mean, you guys are, HeartMath and all of these things are giving us that reflection that what we feed the field matters, right? It's not just a nice idea, it's actually documented. I know when you were showing from the oneness meditation, I actually had chills. It was kind of like this sense, it's like, it's really true that us taking time out of our day to come together, to practice coherence, to be aware of how we're feeling the field really matters, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind when we're talking about the Global Consciousness Project, these are physical devices, right? Now, it turns out that the way we make random numbers is called quantum tunneling. It's a true quantum process. When you make an electron try to go through something it doesn't want to go through, and some of them find their way through it, tunnels. It's called quantum tunneling, and that's a completely non-predictable random process. That's the source of how you making random numbers is really hard. It's not a trivial thing to do. But the point is, they're physical devices. Our consciousness is somehow, we don't know the full mechanisms yet, but interacting at global scale with these devices in a way that changes their behavior in a correlated way globally. I mean, it's quite profound when you really think about it. And the statistics on GCP1, over after 25 years are well over 1 trillion to 1 that this is a real effect. So it's
yeah. So it's affecting our physiology. It's affecting everything around us. Yeah. Huge. Rolin, thank you so much for coming today. I love that we're starting out the year with some of the science because we need that, right? We need the science, and then we need our experience that's backing up that science to help us really take seriously the potency of cultivating greater coherence in the heart of our daily lives.
Yeah. And I'd say another way, we just need to add more love into our day-to-day life, into the field, because that's really what takes us into coherence, is when we love more, and I, from my perspective, Teresa, love is an octave, it includes compassion would be one of the higher frequencies up within the love spectrum, and appreciation and gratitude and kindness. And these are all aspects of love that we want to run more through our own system for our own health and well-being, but it also is affecting those around us and the greater field of the earth.
Yeah. Claudia Wells once said, we need to shift from our love of power to the power of love.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And we love you so much, Rolin. I hope you feel that.
Oh,
We're sending you so much love for all that you do. And please take that in to fuel all the work that you're doing on our behalf.
Thank you, Teresa. Back at
you. Thanks, Rolin. We'll see you again soon. Come and play with us more.
Indeed.
Thank you.